Well, hello there and welcome back to my channel. It's frame review time. Again, another frame on this channel. I do a lot of frames. I like building quads, what can I say? Or I like moving parts from one quad to a new quad when a new frame comes in that interests me, which is what we have here. It's from BetaFPV, which is definitely a company that you might choose to use. Then again, you might not. I bought this from Banggood, not from BetaFPV. Yeah. Anyway, it's a frame, but before we get to that frame, like, subscribe, all of that nonsense. Thank you very much. Anyway, so we've got a frame here, 3.5-inch props. Now that's an interesting size. And people are beginning to see the 3.5-inch prop size frame and builds as being perhaps the best you can get in the sub 250 size. If you want to go sub 250 grams for whatever reason, the laws, or you just don't want to build big quads and have to put your flight ID or whatever it is on it, then staying sub 250 might be something you want to do. And with a 3.5-inch frame, 3.5-inch props, the size running a 4S 850 sort of size LiPo for 3-4 minutes flight time might be exactly what you're after to keep within those lots. So let's have a look at what's in the packet. So what's in the packet? Firstly, what an interesting packet. It's kind of this weird bubble wrap silver foil thing. Nicely packaged, which is good. But not in a cardboard box though. Disappointed, BetaFPV. A lot of your frames used to come in cardboard boxes. Anyway, nice packaging. Let's see what's inside. We get a bag full of bits. Ooh, we get a bit of carbon. A larger piece of carbon. We get a top plate, which weirdly already has the slippy thingy mat. Not Ilma grip, but mildly grippy. I might take that off and put Ilma grip on it. On the top plate, and another, what I'm assuming is a side plate. So let's open this and see what's in here. Right, so these are all the bits out of the packet. Firstly, we get a little card from BetaFPV with QR codes to scan and manuals and follow them on Instagram or Facebook or YouTube, whatever your social network of choice is, if you want to do that. Anyway, we get a battery strap, which is a very nice BetaFPV branded battery strap, but it's not really very grippy. And I like to have the battery straps that have like sort of grippy sections on them, like sort of like a rubberized sort of thing. So you could use that if you wanted to. I would prefer to use a different battery strap. That's just me. Anyway, these are the interesting parts. We got our hardware, so we'll have standoffs and screws and whatnot in there. Very useful. We have a large amount of 3D printed stuff. We'll get through the other bits first. These are some antenna tubes. If you're running diversity antenna, I'm going to be putting Ghost on this because that's what's attached to the all-in-one flight controller ESC, which is what's going in this. Cut down on weight. So I won't be using those, but if you would, you can use them. Very nice with the BetaFPV blue. We've got these guys here, which are quite cool actually. They are little, sort of with double-sided 3M tape on the back, little tubes put on the arms, like so, and stick the motor wires through to stop them getting chopped up and to keep them out of trouble. Quite a nice little addition in the package. Not seen that before, being sent by anyone else, so that gives a thumbs up from me, from BetaFPV. So there you go, there's that. And now we have this large mountain of 3D printed stuff. If you can find the STL files, you could print these yourself and have plenty of replacements for very little money, because these do not look like the best quality prints in the universe, but we'll see how it goes. Anyway, so this, I'm assuming, goes on the back. It seems to have, here we are, see. So in the middle here we've got like a space for your VTX antenna. The side pieces there are assuming where the little tubes kind of stick in there. If you want to do that on the back. And then on the bottom you've got two little holes there and there. I'm assuming you could then install a T-style receiver. Express LRS, which I know BetaFPV have some products in that range, which is another good on them. Why not? Express LRS is very, very, very good. I'm liking it. A lot of people are liking it. And the price is very wallet friendly, which is always a thumbs up. But yeah. Or perhaps Ghost, or if you're old school and like your systems being tried and tested for a number of years, then there's always crossfire or tracer. So there you go. So that's for the back. Options there. We have this guy here, which is for mounting, say, a GoPro or something similar. On a quad this kind of size, if you're going to put a GoPro on it, I'd take the battery out and run the GoPro from power from the LiPo, cut down on weight, or you could run like a naked GoPro or a naked other style of cameras are available from a variety of sources now. Not all brilliant, but certainly you have a lot of options there depending on what you want to do with your filming. Or you could just stick DJI HD in it and just take whatever you get from your DVR as your footage for YouTube or whatever. So there's that option there, which is quite a nice little addition. We've got these little bumpers here which go either side of the camera plate to provide a bit of extra protection for your camera. And if you're running a DJI system, you want all the protection you can get, as that system is becoming very, very rare and very, very expensive. All the protection you can give it before a crash saves you money spending after a crash. And then we have some little skids that go underneath the arms, underneath the motors, and provide a little bit of protection if you're landing on concrete, or if you want to try sort of sliding your quad across the tarmac or something like that, doing tricks and whatever. Whether I put that on or not, I mean, it's weight, isn't it? But yeah, so there we go. Let's put the frame together and then we'll do some measurements, weights, carbon thicknesses, etc, etc. So as if by magic and the power of editing, here is the completed frame. Well, that went together very easily. No problem at all. Just sort of 6 standoffs, and then you thread the 3D printed parts through the standoffs as they go together. But it all seems very very nice and strong and solid. You don't need more problems. I mean, it hasn't got individual arms. Make of that what you will. You can see the carbon there. That can tell us a little bit, but not a huge amount. The only thing that really tells us is the experience of people flying these frames, crashing. If they break really easily, then we know the carbon isn't good. And if they hold up to a crash, which I think they will, it feels very, very solid, especially with these additional pieces here, then we know that it's a good quality frame. But until that happens, it has to be tested. We can't make any assumptions, but you can see what you can see of the carbon, hopefully, in this video, and make your mind up. I put on the bare minimum of what I would consider to be the bare minimum of the 3D printed parts. They add weight, but they do have a purpose. A bit of protection for the camera, which is very useful. And also you can see you have many sort of slots to position your camera in different places. Very useful indeed. And then on the back for mounting up VTX antenna, and underneath for mounting up receiver antenna. You don't have to have these on if you don't want to, but I'd say these are the bare minimum. This is what we've left off. We've got some hardware here for mounting our flight controller. If you want to use that, you can do. If you have your own hardware, you can use that as well. This out of the way. Let's take some weights though of what we've left off, so you can get an idea about what weight we've got here. There's the little tubes for holding the motor wires neatly, 1.64 grams. Though obviously some black electrical tape is lighter than that. If you want to save a gram or two, or a gram or two, a gram, you could use that instead. Then we have our little motor protectors coming in at almost 3.5 grams. Obviously you'd have to use slightly longer screws for your motors. You need to have them in stock because they're unlikely to come with the actual motors themselves. They certainly don't come with the frame. So there's another weight if you want to. 3.5 grams will add. The antenna tubes, which we won't be using, 0.6. And then finally, our little mounting for our GoPro or whatever, 2.79, 2.8 grams. So that's the stuff we haven't used. What about the stuff we have used? The frame, very nice indeed. Let's get some weights on that. 46.32 grams as is. Obviously we could take off maybe a gram or two from 3D printed parts, but I'm not going to do that. Let's move the scales out of the way, get some measurements. 3 millimeters for the arms, the base plate, 1.5 millimeters for the top plate. It's all pretty standard so far. Sorry about the car noises. And then 2mm for our camera plate, which is pretty standard for most sort of builds of this size. Seems to be strong enough, but we can look at the carbon weave and make of that what we will, though we can't really judge what it is until someone crashes it and can then look at the side of the carbon and see whether it's strong enough. It looks strong enough, it feels strong enough. On the bottom we can see we've got mounting for a whoop starboard, and then we've got, I will say 20 by 20, it is 20 by 20 for mounting a normal flight controller and ESC. And then on the top here we've got 20 by 20 as well. So if you want to have, say, it mounted on the top, like say you've got a Vista or something like that mounted on the top, and then disconnected with a gap to your all-in-one board or something like that underneath, you can mount them both sort of centralized, keeping the weight center of gravity on a quad. You want to try and do it as best you can, but it's not as important as it is on an aeroplane, which can cause your plane to crash if it's not set right. So a good idea to keep it center of gravity, center of weight, but not as important as it is on an aeroplane. So there we are. So you can mount it all nicely centralized. So there is the frame. We've got some dimensions. I think it's all, oh, one more dimension, sorry, do apologise. And 19mm for a camera mount. And you can try and see if my calipers go long enough to do motor post to motor post. Just about, let's see, yeah, 1.53, something along those lines. And I think it's an H shape, but we will check on that as well. It is about 91mm front to back, and it is an H because it's wider side to side. It's 124, 125 from side to side. So there you go, an H style, which gives flight characteristics that you may or may not desire, but it certainly holds, so you can see here the arms out of the way of the camera. So unless you have a very wide angle lens, you shouldn't see the props in view, or if you see them in view, it will only be the very edges of the props, depending on what you're running on it. So there you go, a nice little frame from BetaFPV. They make very nice frames, and I've always been very happy with their frames. Not had any issues. Customer service, yeah, but frames, very, very good. Anyway, there we are. We're going to put some motors on this. We're going to put an all-in-one flight controller, Ghost, maybe a GPS, depending if I want to take off the all-in-one flight controller that's attached to it at the moment that's going in this, or whether I want to leave it on. I don't know yet. Might be useful. Yeah, some motors, 14 size motors, I believe, is what we've got for this. In fact, let's get them out. Interesting motors. The motors from Eachine, 1404 3600 kV. But are they from Eachine? Well, yeah. You've got an interesting little thing there in a second. But yeah, so there's the motor. Very, very nice. Not too notchy. Perfect size for this guy here. Lovely, lovely. Comes from a Cineweep, I believe, but this should be fine on this frame. But it's a very familiar feel and look to the motor. Got the sort of lines across the milling that you can run your fingernail across, and the little plastic protection disc underneath to stop your screws coming into contact with the windings on the bottom. This is beginning to look very, very familiar. In fact, it's almost exactly the same as these Toka motors here, with their striations on the side of the bell and the little plastic to protect it underneath. And I ordered these four of these, and they came in these boxes. When I ordered a spare, because it's always good to get a spare, it came in this tub here, and I thought, oh, they've sent me the wrong motor. And so I opened it up, all sealed, and they haven't sent me the wrong motor. They're just showing me exactly where their motors are coming from. Exactly the same size and everything else, same feel, come out the same factory, off the same production line, and these have come from HGLRC. So there you go. Always good to have some knowledge of motors, because some of them come from very interesting sources for considerably less in money than they would coming from the source that they originally came from if they were batched that way. So there's the motors. We'll get to them later on when we get to do the build. When I get the chance to do the build, I don't know, see how it goes. but I'll make a video of it, I'm sure, flying around and see how it handles. I'm interested to see if we can get sub 250 with an 850 milliamp LiPo, and how it flies. Does it feel good to fly? Do you get the power and the flingability that you get from a 5-inch, or is it just a very nice 3-inch or 4-inch, but not in the same league as a 5-inch? We'll see. There's a lot of videos online. I recommend Joshua Bardwell. He has a lot to say on this, and personally I find his information to be excellent. But there you go. Anyway, so there's the frame. Thanks so much for watching for the end. If indeed you are still watching at the end of this video, I hope that you are. I appreciate it. If you are, thank you very much. Like and subscribe if you found this video informative and mildly helpful, which is what I hope for all my videos, that they're informative and mildly helpful. And perhaps I'll catch you in a video in the future. Take care then. Goodbye.